Do not scream. I was already screaming inside my skull. But the sound would not come out, because the stranger had his hand over my mouth and his other arm locked around my ribs, pinning me against the banister, as if my body were nothing but a bad decision. "If you make noise," he murmured, "they will hear you." "Who is they?" "The ones your father invited." "My father did not invite anyone," I forced out, the words smearing against his palm. He laughed once, low and breathless, and in the thin hallway light his eyes caught the moon like coins dropped into fire. He shifted his grip, not gentler, smarter. He held me the way a hunter holds an animal that can break its own legs trying to escape. "Look down," he said. "If you try to run, you will fall." I did not look down. I did not want to see the stairs, the drop, the sharp corner that would welcome my skull. I tried anyway to twist free, and my heel slipped on the polished wood. A small sound left me, something pitiful, and then the world tipped. I fell. My stomach lurched. Air tore out of my lungs. My hands flailed for the banister and caught nothing. And then his arm snapped around my waist, catching me mid-fall, hauling me back against his chest with a strength that should not have belonged to any human. I froze in his grip. It was too secure, too certain, the kind of hold that told me I could fight for an hour and still end up exactly where he wanted me. "Told you," he murmured, his breath warm against my ear. "You fall when you run." "Let me go," I said. "Not yet." Downstairs, the kitchen light blazed as if someone had ripped the darkness open. Voices drifted up, male, amused, and among them was a laugh I knew too well. "My father." "No," I whispered, because the sound of him laughing at this hour meant he had been drinking. And the sound of him drinking meant he was not in control of his own life, let alone mine. The stranger guided me down the stairs. Guided, not dragged. That somehow felt worse, because it meant he did not need to rush. When we entered the kitchen, my heart slammed so hard it hurt. My father sat at the table in his robe, glass in hand, cheeks flushed. He looked comfortable, like this was a late-night visit from friends. Across from him sat a man in an immaculate suit, silver hair combed back, hands folded as if he were waiting for a menu. Two more men stood behind him, silent and broad-shouldered, and their eyes had the same unsettling gleam as the stranger holding me. "Dad," I said, "what is this?" My father did not stand. He did not come to me. He did not even pretend to be surprised to see me. "Emily," he said, in that weary tone he used when I asked him about bills. "Sit down. We are talking." Talking. My throat tightened. My skin turned cold. The silver-haired man's gaze moved over me slowly, taking in my bare feet, my shaking hands, the fear I could not hide. His eyes were calm. Too calm, like he had seen terror so often it bored him. "Emily Collins," he said, I am Victor Hale. The name hit something in my memory, not a fact, but a rumor. The kind of rumor people in Riverton laughed about to keep from admitting they were afraid of the woods that surrounded our town like a dark fence. Victor Hale smiled faintly. "Your father owes me money," he said, "more than he can pay, more than this house is worth." I turned to my father, desperate for his face to change, for him to deny it, to laugh and say it was a misunderstanding. "Tell me this is not real," I said. He swallowed and poured himself another drink. "It is real," he said, "but it is temporary." Temporary, I repeated, because my mind was snagging on the word as if it could save me. Victor's voice remained smooth, almost polite. "Your father offered collateral," he said, "a guarantee. If he pays his debt, you return to him. If he does not, you remain with me." Collateral. My stomach rolled. "I am not a thing," I said, my voice cracking on the last word. Beside me, the man who had caught me on the stairs made a sound that was almost a growl. I felt it in my bones. My body knew what my mind refused to accept. Victor's gaze cut to him, a silent command, then returned to me. "In my world," Victor Hale said, "debts are paid." "Dad," I whispered, "no, please." My father's eyes met mine for a brief second. Something flickered there, guilt or fear, and then it drowned under something uglier. "You do not understand," he said. "They will ruin me. They will take everything." "You already did," I said, and the words came out sharper than I meant, because the truth was a blade in my mouth. Victor stood. The air in the room seemed to shift with him, heavier, as if power had weight. "The agreement is made," he said. "Take her." "No," I said, and lunged toward my father, grabbing his sleeve. "Dad, do something. Tell them no." My father pulled his arm away, as if my touch burned him. "Stop, Emily," he snapped. "This is the only way." The stranger's hand closed around my upper arm. He hauled me back. I fought, I scratched, I kicked. He did not even blink. Victor watched with mild interest. "She is spirited," he said. "Good, it will keep her alive." Alive. The words swallowed the air. As they pulled me through the front door, the winter cold slapped my skin, and I looked back one last time. My father was still sitting at the kitchen table, glass in hand, shoulders slumped as if he were the victim of the night instead of its author. He did not follow. He did not call my name. He let me go. The car smelled like leather and something wild underneath, a damp animal scent that made my throat tighten. I sat in the back between two men who watched me as if I might suddenly grow teeth. The one with the glowing eyes sat in front, silent, gaze fixed on the road. "Where are you taking me?" I demanded, because anger was the only thing keeping my panic from swallowing me whole. "Home," the driver said. "It's not my home." not anymore. The forest swallowed the town lights. Cell service died. The road narrowed until trees crowded close, their branches arching over us like ribs. A gate rose out of the darkness, iron and stone, and it opened without anyone getting out of the car. Hale Manor appeared beyond it, a massive shape of shadow and pale windows, like something built to watch the world rather than belong to it. They led me inside. Warmth hit my face. The air smelled of cedar, smoke, and something faintly metallic. The floors gleamed. The chandelier above glittered like a mouth full of teeth. Victor waited in the foyer. "Welcome," he said, as if I were a guest. "You will behave, you will be fed, you will work, you will not try to escape." I lifted my chin, even as my knees trembled. "I will go to the police," I said. Victor's expression did not change. "Tell them what Emily Collins," he said, "that your father sold you. That a man with eyes like fire carried you into a forest. That you heard growls in your kitchen. The world loves a story until it has to believe it. I hated him because he was right." "You are monsters," I whispered. Victor stepped closer, and for the first time I noticed a pale scar across his throat, as if something once tried to tear it out. "We are what keeps worse monsters out of your town," he said softly. "Remember that when you sleep under my roof." They gave me a small room in the servants' wing. Plain bed, thin blanket, one window looking into trees black as ink. The next morning, a woman named Margaret Pierce brought me clean clothes and rules. Her voice was crisp, professional, like she was onboarding a new employee instead of managing a human hostage. "Do your work," she said. "Do not enter the private corridors. Do not speak to the pack unless spoken to. Never go into the forest alone." "Pack," I repeated. Margaret's eyes held mine. Hers were human brown, but the way she stood, the way she watched, made my skin crawl. "You will learn," she said. Days blurred, weeks, months. I scrubbed floors that shone like mirrors. I carried trays past doors I was not allowed to open. I learned which hallways belonged to which wolves, and how quickly a mistake could turn into punishment. Sometimes, late at night, I heard laughter behind closed doors, low and intimate. And sometimes I heard snarls that did not sound like any animal I had ever known. I learned to keep my eyes down, to keep my body quiet, to survive. But survival did not mean safety. Every time I passed Victor in a corridor, his gaze lingered, measuring, as if he were checking the condition of something he owned. And sometimes I saw him watching his son from a distance. Ethan Hale. I saw Ethan on training grounds through a window once, shirtless in the snow, skin steaming faintly, moving with brutal grace as he sparred with men twice his size. They came at him like they wanted to break him. He broke them instead. There was a beauty in it that made my stomach twist. There was a cruelty in it, too. 6 months after the night my life shattered, Margaret summoned me to Victor's office. Victor sat behind a desk carved with wolves, fingers tapping a slow rhythm that made my skin itch. "Emily," he said. "What do you want?" I asked, refusing to sit. Victor's mouth curved slightly, as if defiance entertained him. "Your father has taken out another loan," he said. For a moment, I did not understand the sentence. Then it hit, and heat flooded my chest, rage so sudden it shook my hands. "He cannot," I said. "He already gave you everything." "Not everything," Victor replied. "He still has a pulse. He still believes luck will return to him." I could taste bitterness like metal. "So what now?" I said. "You take more, you keep me longer." Victor leaned forward. "There is a summit in Moonridge," he said. "A gathering of pacts, alliances, challenges, politics dressed in silk." I said nothing. Silence was the only weapon I had learned here. Victor continued. "My son will attend," he said. "Ethan Hale." My throat tightened. "He has a fiancé," Victor said, "a human named Chloe Hart. Convenient, political, replaceable." My stomach knotted. "Chloe will not attend," Victor said. "Ethan will attend with you instead." The words were so absurd, they stole my breath. "With me," I said. "You will pretend to be engaged to my son," Victor said. "You will stand at his side and smile while wolves watch you for weakness. You will wear his scent. You will look like you belong to him." A laugh ripped out of me, sharp and disbelieving. "You kidnapped me to make me play dress up." Victor's gaze hardened. "I took you as collateral, Emily," he said. "Now I am offering you a way out. Do well, and you leave Hale Manor free with money and papers and a clean slate. Refuse, and you stay here. Forever. And your father's debt becomes your inheritance." Freedom. The word hit me like sunlight after months underground. "Why me?" I asked. "Because it mattered, and it did not." "Because you are human," Victor said. "Because that will provoke them. Because you are unknown. Because you have lived among us long enough that our world has stained you." Margaret's hand landed on my shoulder. "We have little time," she said. The makeover was not a kindness. It was a stripping. They took me to a private salon in the city, hidden behind dark glass. Women touched my hair, my skin, my body, discussing me as if I were a problem to solve. They removed every trace of body hair until my skin felt too exposed, too vulnerable, as if they had erased the last thing that belonged only to me. "It is required," Margaret said when I tried to resist. "Wolves remember scent. Wolves remember texture." They dyed my hair pale gold. They painted my lips the color of temptation. They dressed me in lace that covered enough to be polite, but promised too much to be innocent. The kind of fabric that made me feel like I was wearing a secret. They chose gowns for me, and every one of them looked like a trap. When I stared at myself in the mirror, I did not recognize the woman staring back. She looked expensive. She looked breakable. She looked like bait. Back at Hale Manor, Victor called me into the grand hall. Ethan Hale stood there. Up close, he was worse than rumors and better than nightmares. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair falling carelessly across his forehead. His eyes were storm dark until they flickered, and then I saw the same molten gold I had seen the night I was taken. He looked at my dyed hair, my coat, my heels. His mouth twisted. "So this is my father's solution," he said, his human collateral dressed as a bride. I felt heat rise into my face. "I am not a solution," I said. "I am not a thing." Ethan stepped closer, and his scent hit me like a physical force, cedar and smoke and something dangerous underneath, like the edge of a blade. "You are a debt," he murmured, "and my father loves collecting." Victor's voice cut through the room. "Enough." Ethan's jaw tightened, tension flashing between father and son like a wire pulled too tight. Victor addressed Ethan without looking away from me. "You will present her as your fiancé at Moonridge," he said. "Chloe will not be there." Ethan's lips parted as if to argue, then closed. He looked away for half a heartbeat, and something like disgust crossed his face. "Fine," he said, "but if she embarrasses me, it is on you." Victor's gaze turned icy. "If she weakens you, it is on you," he replied. "Wolves will test you through her." Ethan's eyes flicked back to me, sharp. "Do you understand what you are walking into?" he asked. I forced my voice steady. "I understand. I do not have a choice." Ethan smiled without humor. "Good, that honesty might keep you alive." The car ride into Red Pine Forest felt like crossing a border no human should cross. The road narrowed. The air changed. Even the silence felt different, heavier, like the woods were listening. Ethan sat beside me this time, close enough that my body kept noticing him, no matter how hard I tried not to. "Do not talk too much," he said. "Do not laugh too easily. Do not flirt." I let out a sharp breath. "With who?" "With anyone," he said, eyes forward. Wolves' red hunger like a headline. I stared at him, anger and fear tangling. "And what should I do?" I asked. "Smile like a corpse." "Smile like you belong to me," Ethan said. "That is all they need to see." To belong. The word hit low. Ashford Lodge appeared at dusk, a massive timber estate surrounded by snow-dusted pines. Cars lined the drive. Wolves moved in and out of the light like predators wearing silk. A man stood at the entrance, elegant, hair the color of ash, eyes bright with calculation. "Ethan Hale," he said, arms open. "Welcome to Moonridge. I am Graham Ashford." Ethan's expression shifted into polished politeness. Graham's gaze slid to me, slow, intrusive. "And this must be your fiancé," he said. "Yes," I said, forcing the word out like it was true. Graham leaned in slightly, inhaling, and my stomach tightened as I realized what he was doing. "Interesting," he murmured. "She does not carry enough of your scent." Ethan's hand snapped to my waist, pulling me against him with casual possession, and the contact sent a jolt through my body that I hated because it felt too much like relief. "She is new to our world," Ethan said smoothly. "Give her time." Graham's smile sharpened. "Our world does not give time," he said, "but perhaps you will convince us." They assigned us a suite with an enormous bed. I stared at it as the door shut behind us. "There has to be another room," I said. "No," Ethan said. "We do not have to share a bed," I snapped. Ethan's eyes darkened. "We do," he said. "Wolves believe in proof. They will smell distance. They will taste a lie." My breath caught. Proof of what? Ethan stepped closer until I could feel the heat rolling off him. "Proof that I have you," he said softly. My skin went tight, my mind screaming. "You do not have me," I said. Ethan's mouth curved. "Not yet." Dinner was candlelight and quiet violence. Wolves watched as we entered, their gazes like hands stripping layers away. A couple approached, the man broad-shouldered with an easy smile that did not reach his eyes. "Derek Vaughn," he said, "and my fiancée, Sienna." Sienna was beautiful in a way that felt practiced, hair dark, eyes sharp. She looked me up and down with open disdain. "A human," she said softly. "A pleasure," I replied, because politeness was armor. Sienna's lips curled slightly, as if she could already taste my weakness. Another woman slipped into the circle, blonde, her dress daring, her smile bright. "Harper Quinn," she said, "ignore them. They bite when bored." I did not know whether to trust her, but her presence felt like a small light in a room full of teeth. During dinner, Graham raised a glass filled with something too dark to be wine. "To the peace of the Pax," he said. Then his gaze locked onto me. "For our guest, a special vintage." A servant placed a glass before me. The scent rising from it was metallic, sweet, wrong. A blood. My stomach lurched. Ethan's chair scraped back. For an instant, his hands looked different, knuckles swelling, nails sharpening. "No," Ethan said, voice rough. Graham's smile stayed in place. "Is the Hale heir frightened?" he asked. Ethan leaned over me and took the glass, fingers closing hard enough that the stem cracked. "You will not feed her blood," Ethan said. A flicker of surprise moved through the room. Graham lifted his brows. "She is to be your wife," he said. "She must understand what she marries." Ethan's jaw flexed. "She will learn from me," he said. not from you. For a heartbeat, the lodge felt colder, as if the fire had dimmed. Graham sat back, still smiling. "As you wish," he said. After dinner, the men left for private negotiations, voices low, power threaded through every word. The women remained, circling me like I was a curiosity and a threat. Sienna spoke loudly about bloodlines. Violet Crow, a red-haired woman with cruel eyes, watched me with the kind of focus that felt like hunger. And Noah Crow, Violet's brother, smiled at me every time he passed, charming in a way that made my skin prickle. Ethan's grip on my arm tightened as he hauled me back to our suite. "You spoke to Crow too long," he said. "I spoke to whoever spoke to me," I snapped. "That is what your father wants. Perception." Ethan's eyes darkened. "Perception is dangerous," he said. "They smell fear, they smell interest, they smell lies." "Then what do you want from me?" I demanded. Ethan's gaze dropped to my throat, to the necklace Victor had insisted I wear. A dark stone resting against my skin like a secret. "I want you to smell like me," he said. Heat crawled up my neck. "How?" I whispered, and hated myself for the question. Ethan turned on the shower, steam rising quickly. "Wash," he said. "Now." "You carry too many scents," he said. "Ashford, Vaughn, Crow, wash them off." I stared at him, furious, humiliated, and beneath it all something worse. Something that made my skin wake up. "This is not necessary," I said. Ethan stepped closer. "It is," he murmured, "because if I do not touch you, they will know." My breath caught. He reached for my wrist, not gentle, not cruel, just certain, and pulled me into the bathroom. The shower water was hot, pounding, turning the air into fog. I closed my eyes, trying to hold myself together. Then the shower door opened again. "What are you doing?" I said, voice shaking. Ethan stepped in. Steam curled around him, blurring the hard lines of his body, making him look like something summoned rather than born. "If I do not mark you with my scent," he said, low and steady, "they will tear you apart." "Mark." The word landed like a touch. His hands moved over my arms, my shoulders, firm and careful, as if he was washing fear off my skin the way he would wash blood from his own. I shivered. I hated that my body reacted. "Do not pretend you do not feel it," Ethan murmured. "I feel you taking what you want," I snapped. Ethan's mouth brushed close to my ear. "I want control," he said, "and you want freedom. We both want something that can be stolen." Then his mouth met mine. The kiss was not tender. It was a claim, a warning, a brand pressed into my lips. My hands rose to his shoulders, gripping, not pushing away, and the truth of that decision shocked me more than his mouth. When he pulled back, his eyes were too bright. "Enough," he said. My breath came shallow. You cannot stop now, I whispered, startled by the ache that spread through me. Ethan's jaw clenched. Yes, I can, he said, because if I take too much, you will not be able to lie anymore. That night the bed felt too large, too intimate. I lay stiffly on one side, staring into darkness. Ethan lay beside me, a heat I could not escape. Why are you doing this? I asked finally. Ethan was silent for a long moment. Because if you die, he said, my father will not lose anything he cannot replace. But I will. My chest tightened. In the morning, I woke with Ethan's arm around my waist, his breath warm at my neck. For a second, my body softened into it before my mind caught up and panic flared. Ethan's eyes opened instantly, alert. We stared at each other, caught. Then he withdrew, sitting up, expression hard. Stay at my side today, he said. Why? Because you are bait, he replied, and there was no cruelty in it, only grim honesty. The council that night was a circle of power dressed in polite words. Graham stood at the center, voice smooth. Tonight we confirm leadership transitions, he said. Victor Hale has stepped back. Ethan Hale will take the mantle. Murmurs rippled. Derek Vaughan rose with an easy smile. Tradition requires proof, he said. Strength, control. A leader is only as stable as his mate. His gaze slid to me. Tell us, human, he said. Do you love him? Silence slammed down. My throat went tight. Love was not part of the deal. Love was a scent wolves could taste for truth. Ethan's hand closed around mine under the table, hard enough to hurt. I looked at him, and for one heartbeat I saw the boy under the alpha mask, the son under the heir's arrogance, braced for humiliation. Something in my chest twisted. Love is not safe, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my blood. And yes, I love him enough to stand here while you try to tear him apart. The lie tasted like blood. Ethan's grip loosened. Noah Crow leaned forward, smile soft as silk. Beautiful, he said. Then you will not mind proving it. Ethan rose so fast his chair scraped harshly. Do not touch her, Ethan said, and his voice sounded like a growl swallowed down. Noah's eyes gleamed. Afraid she will choose differently if offered, he asked. For a second, Ethan's control cracked, and I saw it, the flicker of something feral at the edges of him, the danger he kept chained. Graham raised a hand, smiling. Enough, he said. The summit is not a brawl, but the pack must see their leader can protect his mate. Trials will proceed tomorrow. When we returned to our suite, Ethan paced like a caged storm. I did not have to say that, he said finally, voice rough. I say what? That you love me. I swallowed. It was a performance, I said. Ethan stopped. His gaze pinned me. Was it? He asked. Heat crawled up my throat. "Do not," I whispered. "Do not turn this into something real." Ethan crossed the room in 2 strides. He knelt in front of me, hands sliding to my knees, thumbs pressing lightly as if testing whether I would flinch. I did not. He looked up at me, and for the first time his arrogance fell away. "In the council," he murmured, "you looked at me like you meant it." "I looked at you like you were about to kill someone," I said. A sharp breath left him, almost laughter. "That too," he said. His hands moved higher, resting on my thighs, and my pulse jumped. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. I should have. Instead, my breath broke, and my body leaned toward him as if it knew him better than my mind did. His mouth found mine again, slower, deeper, and the kiss unraveled something in me that had been tied too tight for too long. He touched me like he was learning my shape, memorizing, as if he wanted to carry me under his skin. When pain sparked and I stiffened, Ethan froze instantly, and his face shifted with shock that looked too human for a monster. "You," he breathed, "you have never." My cheeks burned with humiliation. "Do not look at me like that," I whispered. Ethan's hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. "I should have known," he murmured, and the sound of regret in his voice confused me more than the pain did. He moved carefully after that, controlled, making sure I could breathe, making sure I did not break. The heat that followed was slow and frightening and sweet. And when my nails dug into his back, Ethan's breath turned ragged like he was holding himself back from something worse. Afterward, he stayed close, forehead pressed to mine, as if he did not trust himself to let go. "This changes things," he whispered. "Nothing changes," I said, "because fear made me cruel. I am still a debt." Ethan's hand tightened around my waist. "No," he said softly, "you are not." The next day felt like a wire stretched too tight. Wolves watched us more openly now. Whispers followed. Noah Crow's smile lingered. Derek Vaughn's gaze sharpened with calculation. Harper Quinn found me in a corridor, her face pale. "Something is wrong," she whispered. "I heard Graham talking to Derek. They think Ethan can be broken." "Broken how?" I asked, dread crawling up my spine. "By taking you," Harper said, and the words turned my stomach to ice. I went to Ethan, shaking. "We need to leave," I said. "Harper says they plan to take me. Graham, Derek, maybe Crow. There is a conspiracy." Ethan's expression went still, dangerous. "I already know," he said. I stared at him. "You knew, and you did not tell me." Ethan stepped closer, his hands settling at my waist as if anchoring me. "If you fear it, they will smell it," he murmured. "And if I show fear, they will strike sooner." "Then what do we do?" I whispered. "We endure tonight," Ethan said. "Tomorrow I take the mantle officially. Then we leave under my protection." "And if they strike tonight?" Ethan's thumb brushed my lower lip, a strangely gentle gesture. "Then they die," he said. Later, unable to breathe in the crowded lodge, I slipped outside onto the snow-covered path near the tree line, hugging my fur coat tight. The air was sharp and clean. The silence felt safer than the lodge. Footsteps sounded behind me. I turned, relief rising, expecting Ethan. Noah Crow stepped out of the shadows instead, smile soft, eyes bright. "You should not be alone," he said. "Where is Ethan?" I demanded, my pulse hammering. "Busy," Noah said. "Men are always busy when women are in danger." My skin went cold. "What do you want?" Noah's smile faded into something colder. "Leverage," he said. "A stable future for my pack, a leader who can be controlled." "You are kidnapping me," I whispered, because the truth was suddenly obvious. "Borrowing," Noah corrected, "for a negotiation." I turned to run. A hand clamped over my mouth from behind, dragging me back. The scent that hit me was sharp, feminine, cruel. Violet Crow's voice whispered in my ear. "Scream and I will tear out your tongue." I went rigid. Noah stepped closer, eyes hard now. "Do not make this messy," he said. I tried to bite Violet's hand. Pain flared as she tightened her grip. The world blurred with panic. In the distance, a wolf howled, long and low, and the sound threaded through the trees like a warning meant for one person. "Oh, Ethan." I fought, but Violet was too strong, and Noah's men emerged from the dark like the forest had grown them. As they dragged me away, snow crunching under my feet, my heart pounding against the hand over my mouth, one thought burned hotter than fear. Ethan will turn and find me gone. And if he comes for me, the lie I told in council might become the most dangerous truth of my life. Violet's hand crushed my mouth so hard my lips stung, and for a sick second, all I could taste was snow and the faint metallic edge of my own fear. Noah's voice drifted close, calm as a priest at a wedding. "Breathe through your nose. If you faint, you'll wake up colder." I tried anyway to wrench free. Violet's nails dug into my cheek, not breaking skin, just making a point. "You're pretty when you panic," she whispered, warm breath against my ear. "It makes me want to ruin you." The men hauling me moved fast, not toward the lodge lights, but into the tree line where the darkness looked thicker, alive. My boots scraped over frozen roots. My heart hammered so violently it felt like it was trying to escape first. I forced myself to stop fighting for 3 breaths, because fighting made noise, and noise made Violet squeeze harder. I focused on the rhythm of Noah's steps ahead, the confident way he never looked back to check if I could keep up. He already knew I could not outrun wolves. A shadowed vehicle waited where the path widened, its engine already humming, its headlights off. They shoved me into the back, and Violet climbed in after me, knee pressing into my thigh like a threat. Noah took the front passenger seat. "Where are you taking me?" I managed around Violet's hand when she loosened enough to let me speak. Noah turned slightly, and the cabin light caught his smile. It could have been handsome in a different world, with different teeth behind it. Somewhere the Hale heir cannot swagger in and start a massacre. "He will come," I said, because the certainty was all I had left. Noah's eyes glinted. "That is the idea." The car rolled deeper into the forest, and the trees swallowed the road like it was a secret they had been hungry to keep. The lodge fell behind us. My body went cold in a way that wasn't only temperature. Somewhere inside that warm timber estate, Ethan would realize I was missing, and I could almost feel the moment his control cracked. The moment he stopped pretending this summit was diplomacy and started treating it like war. Violet tilted my chin with 2 fingers, forcing my gaze to hers. "If you're hoping he'll save you, human, hope is the tastiest thing to choke on." I stared at her until my eyes burned. "If you touch me, he will kill you." Violet smiled slowly. "Then I'll make you worth it." The forest ended abruptly in a clearing where a dead mill crouched beside a black ribbon of river. Greywick Mill looked abandoned, boards warped by weather, windows broken like blind eyes. The building had the smell of rot and old flour, and something underneath that made my stomach tighten, like dried blood trapped in wood. They dragged me inside. The air was colder than outside. My breath fogged. Dust rose around our feet. Somewhere water dripped steadily, as if time itself was leaking. Noah's men tied my wrists behind my back with a rope that bit into skin. Violet watched with pleased attention, like she was admiring a gift being wrapped. Noah crouched in front of me, his voice lowering. "I am not doing this for sport." "You're doing it because you're weak," I hissed. His smile didn't change, but his eyes did. "I'm doing it because Ethan Hale is about to be named leader of the packs, and he should not be. Victor Hale's bloodline has ruled too long. They pretend it's strength, but it's fear. I want an alpha who can be negotiated with." "You mean controlled." "I mean balanced," he said, as if the word could wash the truth clean. "And right now you are my balance." Violet stepped closer, fingers sliding along my jaw with mock tenderness. "You're going to make him beg. I've never seen a Hale beg." Noah stood. "We wait until dawn, then we send terms." He turned as if the conversation bored him, and that dismissal hit me harder than the rope. I strained my wrists, testing. The knot was tight, practiced. Violet leaned down until her lips hovered near my ear. "I'll stay with you," she whispered. "You'll get lonely." Hours crawled. They left me on a broken chair near the center of the mill floor. The rope forced my shoulders back until they ached. My hands went numb. Violet paced in circles like a restless cat, sometimes stopping to study me as if imagining different ways to cause pain without leaving marks. I tried to keep my breathing steady. Wolves smelled fear, Ethan had said. I couldn't let fear become a perfume. But fear had teeth. When Violet finally stopped, her eyes were bright with the kind of excitement that made my skin crawl. "Tell me," she said softly, "does it hurt when you think about him touching you? Does your body still remember, even though your mind hates it?" I clenched my jaw. "You don't get to talk about him." Violet's hand snapped, striking my cheek. The sound echoed off damp boards. It wasn't hard enough to knock me over. It was hard enough to remind me she could. "Oh, I get to talk about anything," she said, voice sweet. "I get to talk about the way he looked at you in the council chamber. Like you were a weakness he wanted to swallow before anyone else could." I swallowed blood where my teeth cut my lip. The sting grounded me. "You know what the worst part is," Violet continued. "You're human, you'll age, you'll break. Even if he marries you, you'll always be temporary." The word hit like a blade because my father had used it first, and I hated that it still had power over me. I forced a smile. Temporary things still burn. Violet's eyes narrowed, and for a moment I thought she would hit me again. Instead, she laughed quietly, almost impressed. "You're going to make this complicated." Before I could answer, footsteps sounded on the upper level, heavy and measured. A woman's voice spoke from the stairs, cool and edged with exhaustion. "So this is where you decided to hide her." I twisted, heart jolting. A figure stepped down into the dim light, and the sight of her was so wrong in that rotten building that my breath caught. She wore a dark coat that looked expensive even in shadow. Her hair was glossy, her face composed, and her eyes were the sharpest kind of blue. She looked like the kind of woman people listened to. She looked like the kind of woman Victor Hale would choose for his son. Chloe Hart. Violet brightened like a child seeing a favorite toy. "Look who finally arrived." Chloe's gaze found mine, and something flickered there, quick and unreadable. Noah appeared behind her, hands in his pockets, relaxed. "Chloe, you're late." "I had to be careful," Chloe said. Her voice didn't shake. "Ashford's people are watching everything. Hale's people are watching more." Hale. The name made my stomach twist because it reminded me that Ethan was out there in the lodge, furious, searching. And he had no idea one of his own political pieces had walked willingly into the trap. I stared at Chloe. "You're with them." Chloe's mouth tightened. "It's not that simple." Violet made an impatient sound. "It is very simple. She's with us. You're the bait. Ethan is the prize." Chloe ignored Violet. She stepped closer and looked at the rope on my wrists, then at the bruises rising on my cheek. Her jaw flexed. Noah's tone sharpened slightly. "Do not get sentimental. We agreed. You help us take Ethan's power. You walk away clean." Chloe's gaze remained on me. "He shouldn't be leader," she said, almost as if convincing herself. "Not with his temper, not with his father behind him." My voice went hoarse. "So you're going to have him killed?" Chloe's eyes snapped to mine. "No, not killed. Broken politically. Forced to renounce the mantle, that's all." "That's all," Violet mocked, laughing. "Like he'll smile and hand it over." Noah's smile returned, calm and confident. "He will if she bleeds." Cold swept through me. I fought against the rope again, useless. Chloe's face tightened. "Noah, we said no permanent harm." Noah's gaze slid to her, and for the first time I saw the edge under his charm. "We said what you needed to hear so you would help us." Chloe's throat bobbed. "You promised." Noah leaned in slightly, voice soft enough to be intimate. "I promise results." The air in the mill turned heavier. Chloe looked away, jaw set, and I realized with a sick clarity that she might not be evil. But she had made deals with evil and expected it to behave politely. Violet stepped behind me and yanked my hair back hard enough to make my eyes water. "Send the message," she said to Noah. "Tell Hale what you want. Then we see how strong he really is." Noah nodded once, as if he had been waiting for permission. He took out his phone and typed with steady thumbs. "Meet at dawn. Alone, renounce leadership, or she dies." My stomach dropped, not because of the threat, but because of the word alone. Ethan alone was a wildfire in a forest. Ethan alone was a death wish. The night passed in jagged fragments. Violet dozed against a beam, still too close, still guarding like she wanted the first taste of my terror when dawn arrived. Noah paced on the upper level, making calls, coordinating, confident. Chloe sat apart, arms wrapped around herself, eyes fixed on the floor as if staring hard enough could change what she had done. At one point, she rose and came to stand in front of me. Her voice was low. "You're Emily." I didn't answer. "I didn't know about you," Chloe said. "Not really. Victor said you were staff, then suddenly you're this." "A weapon," I said bitterly. "A costume." Chloe's mouth tightened. "You think you're the only one used." I laughed softly, the sound ugly in my throat. "Then why are you here?" Chloe's gaze flickered toward Noah. "Because if Ethan becomes leader, Victor becomes king. And people will die, not in your town, in ours, in the places you don't see." I stared at her, trying to find the lie. "And if Noah becomes king," I asked, "people won't die." Chloe hesitated. That hesitation was answer enough. When dawn finally bled pale light through broken windows, the mill's shadows thinned, but did not disappear. They gathered near the lower doors. Noah's men took positions with the calm readiness of predators. Violet's grip tightened on my arm until pain flared. Noah straightened his cuffs, as if preparing for a formal meeting. "He will come," Violet whispered, excitement brightening her eyes. Noah's smile returned. Of course he will. Footsteps sounded outside. Not rushed, not searching. Approaching like a choice. My heart slammed so hard, I thought I might vomit. The door creaked open. Ethan Hale stepped inside alone. He wore a dark coat dusted with snow. His hair was wind-tousled. His face was calm in a way that terrified me more than rage, because calm on him looked like a blade being sharpened. His eyes found me instantly. The bond between us, whether real or imagined, snapped tight, pulling my breath out of my lungs. He didn't smile. He didn't soften. He just looked at me like he was counting injuries. Then his gaze moved to the rope biting into my wrists, to the bruise on my cheek, and the air in the room shifted. Noah stepped forward, hands open in mock peace. "Ethan, thank you for coming." Ethan's voice was low. "Untie her." Noah's smile widened. "After you agree to terms." Ethan didn't move. I'm not negotiating with a man who needs a woman tied up to feel powerful. Violet laughed, still arrogant, even when cornered. Noah tilted his head. "Renounce leadership. Publicly. Today, tell the packs you are unfit. Tell them you were never chosen by tradition. And then you walk away with your human intact." Ethan's jaw flexed. His gaze cut briefly to Chloe, and for the first time I saw surprise flicker. "Chloe," he said, the word flat. Chloe's face went pale, but her chin lifted. "You shouldn't be later." Ethan's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went dark. "Is that why you disappeared? Because you joined them?" Chloe's voice trembled just slightly. "Because Victor will use you to crush everyone." Ethan's gaze shifted back to Noah. "This is your council speech, not mine." Noah's smile softened, almost pitying. "Choose Hale, authority or her life." I felt Ethan's attention return to me, and my chest tightened so hard it hurt. I wanted to shake my head. I wanted to tell him not to do it. I wanted to tell him I could survive anything as long as he didn't kneel. But my body remembered the bed, the heat, the way he had stopped when he realized I was fragile, the way he had looked at me afterward like I was something he couldn't afford to lose. His voice turned quiet. "If I renounce, you think you win." Noah's eyes gleamed. "I know I win." Ethan's gaze dropped, not in submission but in calculation. Then he said clearly, so everyone could hear, "Fine." My stomach fell through the floor. Violet's breath hitched with delight. Noah's smile widened. Ethan continued, voice steady. "I will renounce. Untie her." Noah lifted a hand. "Do it." Violet moved behind me with an annoyed sigh and began working the knot. Her fingers were fast, impatient. As the rope loosened, blood rushed back into my hands with sharp pins of pain. Noah's gaze stayed locked on Ethan. "Kneel," he said, as if tasting the word. Show the packs you submit. Ethan's eyes lifted, molten gold flashing. You want humiliation. I want certainty, Noah said. Ethan inhaled slowly. Then he dropped to one knee. The sight punched the air out of my lungs. Noah's expression turned triumphant. Good, now swear it. Swear you renounce. Ethan's voice stayed even. I renounce the mantle. Noah's shoulders loosened, satisfaction rippling through him. And that was the moment he made his first mistake. He believed Ethan's words more than he believed Ethan's nature. Ethan rose fluidly. His eyes flicked to me for a heartbeat, and in that brief glance I understood everything. The kneel was not surrender. It was bait. A low growl rolled through the mill, and every hair on my arms lifted. From outside came answering sounds, multiple, fast, surrounding. Noah's smile faltered. You came alone. Ethan's mouth curved slightly. I walked in alone. I did not come alone. The mill doors exploded inward. Wolves surged in, not in human elegance, but in the raw violence of pack loyalty. Men I'd seen at Hale Manor, faces hard with rage. And with them Harper Quinn, eyes bright and deadly, hair pulled back, moving like she'd been waiting for permission to become a weapon. Noah's men lunged. The mill became chaos. Ethan shifted mid-stride, the transformation so fast my mind barely caught it. 1 second he was human, the next he was a massive wolf with eyes like molten gold, fur dark as storm clouds, teeth bared. The air filled with snarls, impacts, the crack of wood. I stumbled backward, hands shaking, trying to stay out of the path of claws. Chloe screamed as someone grabbed her. She fought, surprisingly vicious, but fear was still fear. Violet saw me moving and launched at me with a snarl. She was faster than any human, her nails lengthening, her eyes flashing with that feral light. I had no weapon. I had only instinct. I grabbed a broken chair leg from the floor and swung as she reached me. The wood connected with her shoulder. She hissed, more angry than hurt, and slammed me into a beam hard enough to rattle my teeth. Pain flashed behind my eyes. My grip slipped. Violet's hand closed around my throat, not squeezing yet, just holding, smiling. You really thought you mattered, she whispered. You're just a scent he likes. My vision blurred. Then Violet's body jerked violently, and her hand flew away from my neck. Harper stood behind her, breathing hard, eyes wide, one hand buried in Violet's hair, the other holding something sharp and silver pressed to Violet's ribs. Violet's face twisted in disbelief. You. Harper's voice shook, not with fear but with rage. You don't get to touch her. Violet snarled and swung an elbow. Harper ducked, drove the blade again, and Violet crumpled with a choking gasp. her body hitting the floor with a sound that made my stomach turn. I stared, trembling. Harper looked at me, chest rising and falling. "Move," she snapped. "Now." Across the room, Ethan fought Noah, like a storm fighting a mountain. Noah shifted too, a wolf with reddish fur and eyes bright with fury. Their bodies collided, teeth snapping, claws tearing into wood and flesh. The sound was brutal, animal, and underneath it all was something almost personal, like long hatred finally getting a body to bite. Victor Hale burst into the mill with more wolves behind him, silver hair wild, eyes cold. For a heartbeat, the chaos slowed, as if everyone felt his presence like a pressure change. Victor's gaze found Ethan, and I saw something fierce in it. Pride, fear, ownership, all tangled together. Noah lunged at Ethan's throat. Ethan twisted, jaws closing on Noah's shoulder. Noah howled, a sound that cut straight through me. Then a shot cracked through the mill. Not a gun, something sharper like a flare of power. Everyone froze for half a second. Graham Ashford stepped into the doorway, face calm, eyes bright with calculation, holding a small device in his hand like he was conducting rather than fighting. "Enough," Graham said, voice smooth. This summit was meant to change leadership, not start a war. Ethan's wolf form turned toward him, eyes blazing. Victor's voice was quiet and deadly. "You're involved." Graham smiled faintly. Of course, someone had to ensure the right outcome. Derek Vaughn appeared behind Graham, bleeding from a cut above his brow, still smiling like violence was entertainment. "Hale power ends today." The betrayal hit me like a cold slap, even though Harper had warned me. Seeing it made it real in a way that turned my stomach. Chloe stood near the stairs, shaking, eyes darting. She looked at Graham, then at Noah, then at Ethan, and I saw her understand she was not a partner in this plan. She was another piece. Noah pulled back from Ethan, panting, fur matted with blood. His gaze flicked to me, and I felt it like a hook. He moved. Too fast. One of his men grabbed me from behind, arm locking around my ribs, dragging me close to Noah like offering a shield. Noah's voice turned sharp. "Call them off, Ethan, or she dies." Ethan stilled, wolf body tense, eyes locked on me. Even as an animal, his expression looked human in its agony. Victor took a step forward. "Noah, don't be stupid." Noah bared his teeth. "Your son already knelt. He already renounced. I can still win by making him watch." My breath came shallow. My body trembled in the grip behind me. Ethan's wolf form shifted slightly, weight distributing, like he was preparing to launch anyway. And then Chloe moved. She stepped between Noah and me, hands lifted, face pale. "Stop," she said, voice shaking. "This is not what we agreed." Noah's eyes narrowed. "Move." Chloe didn't. She turned her head, looking at Ethan, and her voice cracked. I didn't want her hurt. I didn't want anyone hurt. Ethan's gaze held hers, and for a heartbeat the room felt painfully still. Violet's blood on the floor, Harper's harsh breathing, Graham's calm smile, Derek's smugness, Victor's cold stare. Chloe swallowed. Know where this ends, let her go. Noah's lip curled. You think you're in charge. Chloe's shoulders squared, and something in her expression hardened. I'm not, but I can ruin you. Noah laughed, and then his hand flashed. He struck Chloe across the mouth, hard enough to make her stumble. The sound made my stomach clench. Chloe hit the wall, stunned, and I saw blood on her lip. Her eyes filled with tears she looked furious to have. The man holding me tightened his grip, and panic surged. I tried to jerk away, but his arm was iron. Ethan's wolf form growled low, a sound that made the boards vibrate. Noah leaned close to me, voice almost gentle. Tell him to stand down. I looked at Ethan, and my chest broke a little. He would die for me, I knew it. The certainty terrified me. And then I did the only thing I could do to keep him alive. I lifted my chin and said loudly, Ethan, don't. His eyes flashed. I forced the words out around shaking breath. Choose your pack, choose your life. Do not choose me like I'm a noose. Noah's smile widened. Good girl. Ethan's wolf form trembled, like a storm trying not to become lightning. Victor's voice cut through sharp. Ethan, control. Ethan's gaze stayed on me. Then, slowly, he lowered his head, as if bowing to the cruel logic of the moment. Noah exhaled, satisfied. And that was his second mistake. He believed control meant surrender. Behind Noah, Harper moved like a shadow. Her eyes met mine for a fraction of a second. Then she flung a handful of fine powder into the air. It hit Noah and his men like a spark. They flinched, coughing, eyes watering, senses disrupted. In the same instant, the grip around my ribs loosened. Ethan launched. He crossed the space in a blur, wolf body colliding with Noah's man, jaws snapping, tearing him away from me. I stumbled backward, gasping, hands clutching my own throat, as if I could reassure myself it still belonged to me. Noah lunged at Ethan with a howl. Ethan met him head-on. This time there was no negotiation in Ethan's movement. No restraint, no performance. Only rage and devotion, and something deeper that felt like fate choosing sides. They fought in a tight circle, teeth and claws, until Noah's howl broke into a strangled sound, and he hit the floor, pinned under Ethan's massive weight. Ethan's jaws hovered at Noah's throat. Noah's eyes widened, fear finally breaking through charm. You renounced, he rasped. Ethan's gaze held his, steady and lethal. I lied, Ethan's voice came out rough, not fully human even as words formed. Wolves smell lies. I learned from the best. Victor stepped closer, eyes cold. Enough, Ethan. Alive is better than dead. Dead becomes a martyr. Ethan's jaws trembled. The instinct to kill, battling the instinct to rule. Then slowly, he backed off, keeping Noah pinned with one heavy paw. Victor's men seized Noah, forcing him into human form with restraints designed for shifters. Derek Vaughn tried to flee toward the door, but two wolves caught him and slammed him to the floor, twisting his arms behind him. Graham Ashford watched it all with narrowed eyes, his smile gone. "This is not finished," Graham said softly. Victor looked at him like he was already dead. "It is for you." Graham's gaze flicked toward the doorway, calculations sparking again, and he slipped backward into the chaos outside. He escaped. The fact hit like a fresh hook of fear. Because a man like Graham didn't run unless he already had another plan. When the mill finally quieted enough to hear my own heartbeat, Ethan shifted back into human form, breathing hard, skin streaked with blood that wasn't all his. He crossed the room toward me, and every step looked like effort, like he was holding his wolf inside by the throat. I didn't move. When he reached me, his hands hovered near my waist, then dropped, as if he didn't trust himself to touch without crushing. His eyes searched my face. "Are you hurt?" My throat burned, my wrists throbbed, my cheek stung. I swallowed. "I'm alive." Ethan's breath shuddered out of him, and for the first time I saw something like relief break through the alpha mask. It made him look younger, almost fragile. "I smelled your fear," he said, voice raw, "and I couldn't find you." I hated how much those words did to me. I hated how my body leaned toward him despite everything. "You came," I whispered. His gaze held mine, always. Behind him, Chloe sat on the floor against a beam, arms wrapped around herself, blood on her lip, eyes fixed on nothing. Victor's men guarded her like she was dangerous and worthless at once. Ethan followed my gaze, and his expression hardened. "Chloe," he said. She flinched, then she lifted her head. "I didn't know Noah would do this. I thought we could pressure you, force Victor back. I thought it would be clean." Ethan's laugh was low and bitter. "Clean." Chloe's eyes filled, but her voice stayed stubborn. "You shouldn't be leader." Ethan stepped closer to her, and I felt the air shift again, the old political wound opening. "You helped kidnap my fiancé," Ethan said quietly. "Whether you believe in her, whether you respect her, whether you think she's temporary, she is under my protection." Chloe's lips parted as if to argue. Then her gaze flicked to me, and something like shame crossed her face. Ethan's voice turned colder. "You're done, with me, with my name." Victor stepped forward. "Chloe Hart will be dealt with according to pack law." Chloe's face went paper white. "Victor, please." Victor's eyes were unmoved. You wanted politics. Congratulations, you found consequences. Ethan looked away from Chloe, as if she had already become irrelevant, and turned back to me. His gaze softened, just a fraction. "We're leaving," he said. I should have felt safe. Instead, I felt hollow. Because safety with Ethan was not calm. It was heat. It was danger held close enough to burn. Back at Ashford Lodge, the summit was a shattered thing pretending to hold shape. Wolves whispered. Packs clustered. Some looked at Ethan with awe, some with fear, some with resentment that tasted like future conflict. Victor moved through it like a king in exile returning to his throne. Harper stayed near me, quiet now, eyes still bright, but carrying something heavier than before. "Graham got away," I murmured to her as Ethan and Victor spoke with their wolves. Harper nodded. "He always has an exit. That's why he was dangerous." Ethan returned to my side, his hand settling at the small of my back, warm and steady. The gesture should have comforted me. It felt like a claim. "The council will reconvene," he said, "without Ashford." "And without you renouncing," I said. Ethan's mouth twitched. "I never renounced. I performed. They demanded I show weakness. I showed them a lie." I stared at him. "So the mantle is still yours." Ethan's eyes held mine. "It is, if the packs accept it." "And if they don't?" His voice lowered. "Then they'll try again. And next time they won't use you as leverage. They'll try to kill you." My stomach turned to ice. Ethan's thumb brushed my lower lip in a gesture so intimate it made my breath catch. "That's why you'll stay close." I flinched internally. Close was not a simple word anymore. That night, as the lodge settled into uneasy quiet, Ethan stood at the window, staring into the forest, as if expecting it to grow another enemy. I sat on the edge of the bed, hands clasped, trying to make sense of how my body still hummed with memory of him even after ropes, threats, and blood. Ethan spoke without turning. "I chose you today." I swallowed. "You chose your pack." "I chose both," he said, and the certainty in his voice made my chest ache. "That's what an alpha does." My laugh came out thin. "And what does a human debt do?" Ethan turned then, and his gaze was fierce, almost desperate. "Stop calling yourself that." "It's what I am," I whispered. "Your father bought me." Ethan crossed the room in 2 strides. He knelt in front of me again, like he had in the nights when control had slipped into tenderness. His hands closed around mine, careful, thumbs brushing the bruises on my wrists. His touch was gentle enough to make me feel every place it could have been rough. "I didn't buy you," he said, "and I didn't want you because you were convenient." I tried to pull my hands back. "You wanted me because I was there." Ethan's grip tightened slightly, not painful, just refusing. I wanted you because you looked at me like I was human when everyone else looks at me like a weapon. My throat tightened. I looked at you like you were dangerous. He exhaled, and the sound was almost a laugh. Same thing. His gaze dropped to my mouth, then lifted again, forcing himself not to take. The restraint was a kind of hunger all its own. You said love in the council, he murmured. You said it like it mattered. It was strategy, I said, but the lie tasted weaker now. Ethan's eyes flashed gold. Then you are the best strategist I've ever met. The room felt too warm, too close. I could smell him, the wildness and smoke and something softer underneath. I stood abruptly. This ends after the summit. That was the deal your father promised. Ethan's face went still. You want to leave? I forced the words out. I can't be your weakness. I can't be your political wound. I can't be the thing they use to break you. Ethan's jaw tightened. You're not a thing. I'm a human, I snapped, and my voice shook. I'm temporary. I will age. I will break. And one day you will wake up and realize you chose a life that ends. Ethan's gaze burned. And you think that makes you less worth choosing? I couldn't answer, because the truth was lodged in my throat like a stone. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. You think I'm supposed to choose a wolf because it's easier, because it's tradition, because it's what they expect. His eyes darkened. They expected Chloe. My stomach clenched. Chloe was your real fiancé. Chloe was Victor's arrangement, Ethan said, not my bond. The bond. The word made my skin prickle. I whispered, then who is your true mate? Ethan's face tightened as if the answer hurt him. They think it's her. My chest went cold. They. Packs, he said. Tradition. Scent readers. Old wolves who believe the world is simple. Chloe was supposed to fit into my life like a lock fits a key. His gaze held mine. But you don't fit, you cut, you scrape, you make me feel. The air between us thickened, dangerous with everything unsaid. I shook my head. I can't do this. Ethan's expression turned hard, not cruel, just controlled. Then go. The words hit like a slap. Ethan continued, voice low. If you want freedom, take it. I won't chase you like a thief. I won't keep you like my father does. His eyes flashed with something raw. But if you walk away, do it knowing this isn't because you're second choice. It's because you're afraid of being first. My breath broke. I turned away before he could see my face fall apart. 2 days later, the summit ended in exhausted compromise. Ethan was confirmed as pack leader by those who feared him and those who respected him, and the ones who hated him left with eyes full of future challenge. Derek Vaughn was taken in chains. Noah Crow was restrained, furious, but alive, and his exile was promised like a sentence waiting for a signature. Graham Ashford's name became a poison whispered behind hands. Victor Hale returned to his manor with the satisfaction of a man who had survived his own enemies. And I left. Not in chains, not dragged. I left with papers Victor provided, money for a small apartment, and the bitter taste of freedom that felt like losing something I hadn't known I needed. Riverton looked the same and different when I returned. The streets were familiar, but my eyes had changed. Every shadow looked like it could move. Every tree line looked like it had teeth. My father's house was darker, quieter, as if the night I was taken had hollowed it out, and nothing had filled the space since. I didn't go inside. I rented a small place and tried to build a life that did not smell like wolves. At first, the nights were the worst. I woke sweating, hearing phantom howls, feeling phantom hands at my wrists, remembering Ethan's heat beside me like a burn I couldn't stop touching. I told myself this was what I wanted. Then my father appeared at my door. He looked older, thinner, and he still smelled like cheap whiskey and bad decisions. "Emily," he said, trying to smile. "There you are, I've been looking." My body went cold. "How did you find me?" He shrugged, too casual. "People talk, you know how it is." I stared at him. "What do you want?" He held his hands up as if offended. "I want my daughter. I want to make things right." A laugh ripped out of me, sharp and ugly. "Right, you sold me." His face tightened. I didn't have a choice. I stepped closer, voice low. "You always had a choice. You just never chose me." For a moment, his expression cracked, showing something like shame, and then it hardened into resentment. "You think you're better now," he snapped. "Because you slept in a rich man's house, because you let monsters touch you." The words hit like a bruise, and I hated that they stung. "Get out," I said. He leaned closer, eyes glassy. "Victor won't lend to me anymore. He cut me off. But you could talk to them. You could fix it. You owe me that." I stared at him until my vision steadied. "I owe you nothing," I said. His mouth twisted. "You're ungrateful." I stepped back and closed the door in his face. 2 nights later, I walked home from the grocery store with my arms full of bags, the streetlights weak and the air sharp. I sensed them before I saw them. 3 men stepped out from between parked cars, drunk or pretending to be, their eyes hungry in the oldest human way. "Hey," one of them called, "you got a minute?" My stomach tightened. I tried to keep walking. A hand grabbed my elbow. "Don't be rude." My bags fell, cans rolled, my heartbeat thundered. "Let go," I said, forcing my voice steady. The man smiled, showing teeth. Or what? The second man moved behind me. The third laughed softly. Panic surged like a wave, and for an instant I was back in the mill, rope biting, violet whispering. I twisted hard, trying to break the grip, but the man yanked me toward the alley. My breath hitched. Stop. His fingers tightened. Scream if you want. No one's coming. A low growl rolled out of the darkness behind them. Not a human sound. All three men froze. A wolf stepped into the streetlight. It was massive, fur dark as night, eyes molten gold. The men stumbled backward, swearing fear turning them clumsy. The wolf lunged. What followed was fast, brutal, and mercifully short. There were yells, a wet crunch I tried not to understand, and then silence broken only by my shaking breath. The wolf stood over the fallen men, chest heaving, blood on its muzzle. Then it turned to me. I couldn't move. My body went rigid, caught between terror and a familiarity that felt like fate. The wolf's eyes held mine, and I knew. "Ethan," I whispered. The wolf stepped closer. Snow crunched softly under its paws. Then the transformation rippled through it like a wave, and Ethan Hale stood there, shirt torn, skin cold in the winter air, eyes still too bright. He looked at me like he had been looking for me since the moment I left. "You shouldn't be alone," he said, voice rough. I shook so hard my teeth clicked. "You followed me." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I protected you." I tried to laugh, but it broke into something like a sob. "I told you not to." Ethan stepped closer, hands lifting as if to touch my face and stopping just short, as if he didn't trust himself not to claim. "You left," he said quietly, "so I let you go." His eyes darkened, and then I couldn't. My breath came shallow. "You killed them." Ethan's gaze flicked toward the bodies, then back to me. "They tried to hurt you." My knees went weak. The shock hit all at once, the delayed tremor of survival, and the street tilted. Ethan caught me before I hit the ground, arms wrapping around me with terrifying ease, like the night on my father's stairs, like the first moment my life changed. His coat surrounded me, smelling like smoke and forest, and the part of me that still wanted him. "Emily," he murmured, voice breaking slightly, "stay awake." The last thing I saw before darkness took me was Ethan's face close to mine, fierce and frightened, as if losing me would finally break the thing he'd been holding together with teeth. I woke in St. Anselm Hospital with dry mouth and a heavy head. Ethan sat beside the bed, elbows on his knees, hands clasped, staring at the floor like he was trying not to rip the room apart. When he sensed me move, his head snapped up. His eyes were bloodshot. His jaw had new bruises, like he'd been in a fight even after saving me. "You're awake," he said, voice hoarse. I swallowed. "How did you get me here?" Ethan's mouth tightened. "Fast." Silence stretched, thick with everything we'd avoided. Finally, I whispered, "Why are you here?" Ethan leaned forward, forearms resting on the mattress. His voice lowered. Because the summit was a trap, and you were the bait, and I let you walk into the world alone anyway. I stared at him. You said you'd let me go. I did, he said. That was the lie I told myself to feel honorable. His eyes held mine, burning. I can't do honorable if it means you die. My throat tightened. What about Chloe? Ethan's expression hardened. Chloe confessed. I blinked. Confessed what? That she agreed to help Noah and Ashford destabilize me, Ethan said, each word controlled like he was clenching them between teeth. She thought she could manage the damage. She couldn't. Victor punished her. Pack law. My stomach turned. Is she alive? Ethan's gaze flickered, then steadied. Yes, but she's not free, and she's not mine. I swallowed. And the mate bond. You said they think she's your true mate. Ethan's eyes darkened. They were wrong. My breath caught. Then who? Ethan's voice went low, raw. You. The word hit like a shock through my bones. I stared, trying to find disbelief, trying to find logic, trying to find the place where this was just another manipulation. Ethan continued, faster now, like he couldn't hold it back. I fought it because you're human, because it's inconvenient, because it makes my rule vulnerable, because it terrifies me. His hand lifted, hovering over my wrist, then closing gently around it. But every time you were afraid and I smelled it, it felt like my ribs were breaking, he said. Every time someone looked at you like prey, I wanted to tear out their throat. His gaze held mine. That's not politics, that's not strategy, that's instinct, that's bond. My pulse thundered. Victor will accept that. Ethan's mouth curved faintly, humorless. Victor accepts what cannot be undone. He didn't like you. Then he watched you survive. He watched you stand in a council of wolves and lie with courage. He squeezed my hand slightly. He respects you now. Tears burned behind my eyes, surprising and hot. I don't want to be respected. I want to be safe. Ethan's expression softened. Then come home. Home. The word felt dangerous. I whispered, I'm afraid I'll always be second to the pack. Ethan's gaze sharpened. You will be part of the pack. I stared at him. And if they challenge you again? Ethan's voice turned quiet. Then we fight together. Something inside me loosened, not surrender, but release, like I'd been holding my breath since the night my father sold me. I whispered, I can't promise I won't run again. Ethan leaned closer, forehead nearly touching mine. Then I'll keep finding you, not as your captor, as your mate. A mate. The word should have felt like a cage. Instead, it felt like a door. Victor came to the hospital the next day, dressed in a suit that made him look like a man who owned the world. His eyes took me in, measuring again. But this time, there was no cold amusement. You're alive, he said. Yes, I replied, voice steady. Victor's mouth twitched slightly. Good. My son has made enough enemies without grief making him stupid. Ethan's jaw tightened. Father. Victor's gaze shifted to Ethan, and the air between them tightened with old dominance. Then Victor looked back at me. He wants to bring you into the pack. I know, I said. Victor studied me, then nodded once. Then you will be protected, and you will be watched. Wolves do not accept weakness. I lifted my chin. Then they shouldn't look for it. Victor's eyes narrowed, and for the first time I thought he might actually approve of me. Fine, he said. If you become the alpha's mate, you become Hale. Anyone who touches you touches the pack. He turned to Ethan. Do it properly, no half measures. Ethan's voice was quiet. I will. The proposal didn't happen with candles and music. It happened in the manor's private courtyard under a sky heavy with snow, where the trees stood like witnesses and the air smelled of cedar and wolves. Ethan held my hands, his thumbs brushing the faint scars on my wrists. I won't promise you a gentle life, he said. I don't have one. My breath came out in a shaky laugh. That's the first honest romantic speech I've heard. Ethan's mouth curved. I will promise you this. You will never be alone again, not if you don't want to be. My chest tightened. And if I do want to be alone? Ethan's gaze softened. Then I'll stand far enough away that you can breathe, but close enough that no one else dares. He lowered himself to one knee, and the sight hit me so differently than Noah's demanded kneel that my throat burned. This kneel was not bait. It was choice. Emily, Ethan said, voice steady. Be my wife, be my mate, not because you owe anyone anything, not because you're a debt, because you're you. The snow fell softly, quiet and persistent, like the world was learning how to be gentle. I swallowed hard. Yes. Ethan's breath shuddered out like he'd been holding it for months. He stood and kissed me, slow and deep, not possessive this time, but reverent, like he was finally allowed to want what he'd been starving for. The pack ceremony wasn't theatrical. It was intimate and strange and ancient. A circle of wolves, candles, murmured words I didn't fully understand. Hands on my shoulders, on Ethan's, binding us in a way that felt less like law and more like instinct made official. Harper stood near me, eyes bright, a small smile on her mouth that looked like pride and exhaustion. When it was done, Ethan pressed his forehead to mine and whispered, Now they can't take you without tearing the whole pack apart. I whispered back, and now I can't pretend I don't want you. His laugh was low and rough, and he kissed me again, and the heat between us was no longer just danger. It was home. Life didn't become peaceful overnight. Enemies don't vanish because you get married. But the manor felt different once I belonged by choice. The servants stopped whispering. The she-wolves watched me, wary at first, then curious, then grudgingly respectful when I didn't flinch from their stares. I learned the rules of scent and territory. I learned which smiles meant threat and which meant alliance. I learned how to walk through a room full of predators without looking like prey. Ethan grew into leadership like it had always been under his skin, the mantle not making him new, only making him visible. He negotiated with packs, punished betrayals, rebuilt what the summit had cracked. Noah Crow was exiled, his name spat like a warning. Derek Vaughan paid for his part in the conspiracy, stripped of privilege and power. Graham Ashford vanished into whatever shadows he had prepared, but his absence felt like a promise that the world was still dangerous. And then, quietly, my body changed. The first time I realized it, I sat in the manor bathroom staring at a pregnancy test, my hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped it. Fear hit first, sharp and immediate. Then awe. Then a fierce tenderness, so sudden it made me cry. When I told Ethan, he went still, as if the words had struck him physically. "A child," he said, voice breaking. I nodded, tears sliding down my cheeks. "A son, I think, I don't know, I just." Ethan crossed the room and sank to his knees in front of me, pressing his ear to my stomach as if he could hear the future. His hands shook. "Mine," he whispered, and the possessiveness in the word wasn't about ownership. It was about devotion. I touched his hair gently. Ours. Victor's reaction was almost unsettling. The day Ethan told him, Victor stared for a long moment, then exhaled like a man who had just been handed a kingdom. "C'est heir," Victor murmured. Ethan's voice turned warning. "A child." Victor's gaze flicked to me, and something softened there just barely. "Then keep her safe." As my belly grew, so did the pack's attention. Some she-wolves became kinder. Some became jealous. Some watched me like I was proof that tradition could bend without breaking. Harper stayed close, teaching me small things, how to read posture, how to smell fear in a room, how to keep my voice steady even when my insides shook. "You're doing well," she said one evening when I'd held my ground against a sharp-tongued elder. I let out a breath. "I'm terrified all the time." Harper smiled. "Good, it means you're not stupid." My father tried to return once, as if he could sniff money and power through the walls. Victor himself threw him out, cold and final. And when my father shouted my name, I didn't go to the window. I felt nothing. The emptiness where love had been was not painful anymore. It was peaceful. When labor came, it came like a storm. Ethan paced like a trapped animal, eyes wild, hands shaking, trying to pretend he was in control and failing beautifully. "Breathe," I snapped at him between contractions. His voice broke. "I am." "You're not the one giving birth," I gasped. Ethan's laugh came out ragged, half terror, half worship. I know. He held my hand so tightly his knuckles turned white, and when pain threatened to swallow me, his voice anchored me, low and steady, telling me I was strong, telling me I was safe, telling me he was there. When the baby finally cried, the sound hit me like a sunrise. Ethan stared as the nurse placed our son in my arms, and for a moment, the alpha disappeared completely. He looked like a man seeing his heart outside his body. He touched the baby's tiny hand with one trembling finger. "Hello," he whispered, voice breaking. "I'm your father." Tears slid down his cheeks, and I loved him harder for them, because wolves weren't supposed to cry, and Ethan did anyway. In the quiet hours after, when the hospital room dimmed and the world felt far away, Ethan sat on the bed beside me, our son sleeping between us. "You're happy," Ethan murmured, almost disbelieving. I looked at our child, then at my husband, and the truth settled in me like warmth. "I'm not afraid of wolves anymore," I said softly. "Not when I know what it means to belong." Ethan's arm wrapped around my shoulders carefully, protective even in tenderness. "You never belonged because my father bought you." I leaned into him. "I belong because I chose you." Outside, snow fell quietly, and for once it didn't feel like a warning. It felt like the world learning how to be calm. Emily went from being her father's debt to becoming an alpha female. How did you like her transformation? A question for you. Do you think Ethan did the right thing by kneeling before his enemy to save Emily, or should an alpha never show weakness? Please also write how the sound was in this chapter. Were there any moments where the music or intonation interfered with your understanding of the text? Your opinion helps me get better.